In the sterile hush of the private ICU suite, Alexander Voss, once the untouchable titan of Silicon Valley, whose empire of algorithms had minted fortunes and reshaped lives, lay gasping like a man drowning in his own skin. The monitors wailed their discordant symphony, a flatline teasing the edge of eternity, while 20 white-coated saviors hovered like ghosts, their faces etched with the defeat of gods who couldn't rewrite fate. His vision blurred, not from the morphine drip, but from the venomous replay in his mind. Elena's parting words, sharp as shattered glass. "You're a machine, Alex. Not a man. I can't love circuits." She'd walked out 6 months ago, suitcase in hand, leaving behind the echo of their unborn child's heartbeat, the miscarriage she'd blamed on his endless boardrooms, his armored heart. Now, as his chest seized in a vice of invisible fire, Alex clawed at the sheets, not for air, but for the ghost of her forgiveness. Asterisk, why now? Why me? Asterisk, the question dissolved into a sob, raw and unbidden, as the room spun into blackness. In that suspended breath, he wasn't the billionaire anymore, just a hollowed-out boy, screaming silently for someone, anyone, to see the fracture lines he'd hidden beneath layers of steel and success. Minutes from the void, he whispered to the indifferent ceiling, "Is this all I am? A glitch in the code?" Alexander Voss had always believed in firewalls, impenetrable barriers against chaos, whether in code or in the vaulted chambers of his soul. The doctor's failure was just another bug, he told himself as the ambulance sirens faded into the manicured silence of his Malibu estate 3 days later. Discharged against medical advice, he waved off the cluster of specialists with a check that could fund a wing at Cedars-Sinai. Run more tests remotely, he barked into his phone, already scrolling through merger proposals on his tablet. The pain lingered like a low-grade fever, a dull throb in his chest that no scan could pinpoint. It's stress, he rationalized, the word a mantra against the rising tide of doubt. Asterisk, eat better, sleep more. I'll code through it. Asterisk, but sleep was a traitor, haunted by Elena's laughter in their vineyard garden, the way her fingers had traced his scars from a boyhood accident, calling them maps to your wild heart. Now, those maps led nowhere. She'd redrawn her life with a gallery owner in Paris, their divorce papers crisp and final on his desk. Mara Washington, his housekeeper of 12 years, moved through the sun-drenched villa like a shadow given grace. At 58, her hands bore the calluses of a life stitched from southern soil. Cotton fields in Alabama turned diner shifts in LA, all to send her son through Morehouse. She dusted the marble counters with a rhythm born of quiet endurance, her dark eyes catching the flicker of Alex's pallor as he slumped in the leather armchair by the infinity pool. "Mr. Voss, you look like death warmed over," she said, her voice a warm contralto laced with the drawl of her grandmother's hymns. He glanced up, forcing a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Just jet lag from the Zurich trip, Mara. Pour me a scotch, will you?" She hesitated, her cloth pausing mid-swipe. "Scotch ain't no jet lag cure, sir. And neither is pretendin' you ain't huttent." He laughed it off, a hollow bark. Asterisk, hurt. I'm Alexander Voss. I don't hurt. I optimize. Asterisk, but as she retreated to the kitchen, he felt the stab again, sharper this time, like grief uncoiling in his veins. Denial was his fortress, built brick by brick over the wreckage of that rainy October afternoon when Elena's water broke too early, the hospital lights blurring into a nightmare of beeps and blood. "It's your fault," she'd whispered from her bed, her eyes accusatory daggers. "You were in Tokyo, closing that deal." He'd flown back on a red-eye, only to hold her hand as the doctor murmured condolences. The betrayal wasn't just her leaving. It was the mirror she'd held up, reflecting a man who'd traded love for liquidity, intimacy for IPOs. "I provided," he argued internally, pacing the study lined with first editions he never read. "Private jets, trust for the kid we lost." But the kid was a ghost, and the jets felt like chains now. The pain flared, dropping him to his knees one evening, sweat beading on his brow as he clutched the desk. Mara found him there, breath ragged, the room spinning. "Jesus, mercy," she murmured, kneeling beside him, her hand steady on his back. "Breathe with me, child. In out. Ain't no shame in fallin'." He shrugged her off, pride a reflex. "I'm fine. Just indigestion." Her gaze lingered, seeing the boy beneath the billionaire, the one who'd hired her after spotting her resume in a stack, drawn to her unpretentious resume photo, a rare moment of human connection in his algorithm-driven hires. That night, alone in the king-sized bed that swallowed him whole, the pain morphed into a storm. He scrolled Elena's Instagram, her radiant posts with her new bow twisting the knife. Asterisk, she moved on. Why can't I? Asterisk, tears came unbidden, hot tracks down his temples, soaking the pillow. Denial cracked, just a hairline fracture, but enough for the flood to seep in. The next morning, Mara arrived with a thermos of her chamomile tea, laced with ginger from her herb garden. Drink this. And talk to me, Mr. Voss. I've seen enough broken men in my time to know when one's about to shatter. He sipped, the warmth of foreign comfort, and for the first time, he let slip a sliver. She left because I wasn't enough. Never was. Mara's nod was slow, sage. Enough for who? Her? Or you? The question hung, a seed in barren soil. Over the following weeks, as consultations with cardiologists yielded nothing but shrugs, Alex's routine fractured. He'd catch Mara humming spirituals while folding his shirts, her voice a balm against the isolation. One afternoon, a stranger, a delivery boy with a gap-toothed grin, dropped off orchids from an anonymous sender. Elena's doing, he knew. These are for healing, mister, the boy said, eyes wide at the opulence. My abuela says flowers remind us life's still bloomin', even after storms. Alex pocketed the card unread, but the boy's warmth lingered, a small victory in the war against solitude. Pain deepened the chasm, nights blurring into fevered dreams where he chased Elena through boardrooms turned graveyards, the lost child's cry echoing off glass walls. He'd wake gasping, the monitors from the hospital haunting him in memory. Mara became his unwitting sentinel, leaving notes on the fridge. You ain't gotta carry it all alone. Interactions multiplied in subtle ways. A call from his estranged sister, prompted by Mara's gentle nudge during grocery runs, where she shared tales of their shared losses. Families like roots, Mr. Voss. They tangle, but they hold the tree up. During one such call, his sister wept over their father's unspoken regrets, mirroring Alex's own. Am I becoming him? The reflection stung, but in the pain's crucible, denial began to melt. Small victories emerged, a walk on the beach where waves lapped at his feet, washing away the salt of unshed tears, a sketchpad Mara gifted him, urging, draw what words can't say, leading to crude lines of a family that never was. By chapter's end, as another attack gripped him mid-conversation with Mara, her steady hands guiding him to the couch, whispering, let it out, baby. The truth's waitin' to be seen. Alex teetered on reflection's threshold, the fortress walls trembling. Reflection came not as a thunderclap, but as the soft patter of rain on the villa's skylights, insistent and revealing. Alexander Voss sat cross-legged on the Persian rug in the library, surrounded by the detritus of his unraveling. Elena's forgotten pearl necklace draped over a first-edition Hemingway. The divorce decree crumpled like a discarded prototype. The pain had ebbed to a persistent ache, no longer a predator but a companion, urging him to sit with the ruins. Asterisk, what if the doctors were right? What if it's not my heart, but the hole where it used to be? Asterisk, the thought, once banished, now bloomed in the quiet hours. Mara had taken to joining him for tea times, as she called them, afternoons where she'd brew loose leaf from her tin collection, sharing stories of her own fractures. Lost my Jessie to the bottle when our boy was 5, she confessed one gray morning, her eyes tracing the steam's curl. He'd promised the moon, then leave us chasing shadows. Took me years to see I was the moon all along, full, even in the dark. Alex listened, really listened, her words a lantern in his fog. For the first time, he shared the unspeakable. The ultrasound image burned into his retinas, the tiny heartbeat that flickered out like a faulty server. I thought success would fill it, but it's eating me alive. The journey deepened through chance encounters that felt fated. At a farmer's market, Mara insisted he accompany her to fresh air for that walled-up soul. A child no older than 6, with braids like midnight rivers, tugged at his sleeve. She clutched a basket of strawberries, her mother bartering nearby. Mister, you sad like my puppy when it rains. Want a berry? They make smiles grow. He knelt, accepting the fruit, its juice staining his fingers red as memory. The girl's unfiltered warmth cracked him open. He laughed, a genuine rumble, as she demonstrated a buried dance that involved twirling until dizzy. Her mother, a single artist with paint-flecked jeans, smiled knowingly. Kids see what we hide, don't they? The hurt we polish over like old silver. That night, alone, Alex journaled by candlelight. Internal dialogues spilling onto pages. Asterisk, you built empires, but lost your compass. What if rebuilding starts with ruins? Asterisk, reflection wove through days. Yoga sessions on the deck where breath synced with ocean sighs. Each inhale a reclamation. Therapy via video with a soft-spoken mentor recommended by his sister, who unpacked the betrayal not as indictment, but invitation to vulnerability. Mara emerged as the quiet architect of his awakening. Her observations, delivered over shared meals of gumbo simmered with love, pierced his defenses. You chase fixes like them doctors, Mr. Voss, but the truth ain't in machines. It's in the mirror, what you see when you stop running. One evening, as thunder rolled in from the Pacific, the pain surged back, fiercer, a tidal wave crashing him against the bathroom tiles. Vision tunneling. He crawled to the door, pounding weakly. Mara burst in, her face a mask of fierce tenderness. She didn't call 911. Instead, she cradled his head in her lap, her voice a steady anchor. Look at me, Alex. Not the pain, the man. You ain't dying from no sickness. It's grief, child. The kind that poisons if you bottle it. Elena took a piece, but she didn't take you. That baby's light. It's still in here. Her palm pressed to his chest, over the scar from childhood, and in that touch, warm, unearned, seeing, he shattered. Sobs racked him, decades of armored tears flooding out, mingling with the rain outside. Asterisk, she's right. It's not failure, it's human. The wound is the way in. Asterisk, for hours, she held him, murmuring truths from her lineage. Black women like me? We've been carrying worlds on our backs since ships crossed waters. But carry in don't mean crumplin'. It means rising. Personal growth unfurled in petals, slow and defiant. Alex divested from toxic ventures, channeling funds into grief support for miscarrying parents, a small victory that echoed the child's unlived promise. Interactions bloomed, mentoring a young coder at a community center, her wide-eyed questions mirroring his younger self's fire, sparking wisdom he'd long suppressed. Code's like life, he told her over coffee. Bugs happen, but debug Jin starts with admitting the glitch. With Mara, boundaries softened into kinship. She taught him to garden, hands in soil yielding tomatoes that tasted of triumph. Strangers wove in, a park bench chat with an elderly veteran, whose tales of war's invisible wounds mirrored his corporate battles, ending in a shared silence pregnant with understanding. Reflection turned inward alchemy. Betrayal wasn't the end, it was the forge. Elena reached out once, a tentative email seeking closure. He replied not with anger, but grace. I see you. And now I see me. The send button clicked like a key turning in a rusted lock. As summer waned, the attacks ceased, the illness revealed in a final consult as somatic grief, body screaming what soul suppressed. Mara, ever the seer, nodded. Told you. Truth sets free. Alex stood taller, not in stature, but spirit, the fracture lines now veins of gold. In the garden, under a harvest moon, he planted a sapling for the child, its roots delving deep. Growth wasn't erasure, but integration. The pain a teacher, betrayal a bridge to self. In the quiet reclamation of his days, Alexander Voss learned that true renewal blooms not from perfection, but from the courage to tend the wild, wounded garden within. Embrace your scars as sacred maps. They lead not to loss, but to the luminous self waiting to be uncovered. In self-acceptance, we find not just peace, but the fierce, unbreakable peace of becoming whole. Moral of the story. Healing is not the absence of pain, but the presence of truth, whispered by those who truly see us, reminding us that inner strength lies in surrendering the armor, allowing vulnerability to forge an unbreakable spirit.